So I went on a business trip. I booked a shoot, an all-weekend shoot, 2 days of shooting in Charleston, South Carolina. I was driving down, on the way down, it's about a 4-hour drive. On the way down, I had a religious experience. I met Satan coming back up. He said it was too hot, he's going back to hell. Welcome to another Gribbly's Folly Sunday antisocial hour, that time each week when I smoke my pipe and complain about humanity while answering all of its questions. And if you are a piece of humanity or a bird with a question for me, would you shut up? I'm trying to make a video here. Leave it in the comments down below with the hashtag AskGribbs. I will answer any question you could ever seriously, what am I supposed to do with it? So, when you drive down to Charleston, you want to see this little fucker? He's right over here. Flew away. Okay. So if you've ever driven on an interstate in South Carolina, you know about the billboards for the Lion's Den Adult Superstore. Now, you cannot escape it. It's everywhere. There's billboards like for 50 miles in every direction for the Lion's Den Adult Superstore. And, you know, I have connections to the area going back to when I was a kid. But you can't go to an adult superstore if you're not an adult. Seriously though, we drive past it on family vacations or whatever, but usually we have no interest in stopping. This time I decided, you know, I'm on a business trip. This is when you're supposed to do these things, right? Like you do something unique that you wouldn't normally do because it was awful. This trip was just brutal. Nice to have the work, fun assignment, but yeah, it was like 102 in the shade. I mean, seriously, the heat index was over 100 both days. And when I got up at 6 a.m., the first day of the shoot, the actual temperature at 6 a.m. was 88 degrees. Anytime I went from the inside to the outside, my lenses fogged up from the humidity. I was just watching Stuff and Things video about visiting the Smoky Mountains and how humid it was there. You got no idea. So, you know, a business trip, you need something to lighten the mood, and I was alone. I didn't have a child with me, and so I thought, yeah, this should be the time. I just want to see it, you know. What does an adult superstore even look like? Because around here we have adult stores, but they're not super, and they don't put that in their name. I think one of them is called Bedtime Stories, and the other one is called like Fantasy World. You know, they don't claim to be a superstore. Now, I've only been to them a few times. The first and most memorable was when my buddies and I were worried about the direction that another buddy was going. He seemed very restrained. Not in that sense. Not in the restraint sense of restraint. He seemed prudish, is what I'm trying to say. So we went to Bedtime Stories. This was back in the early 2000s when VHS was like phasing out, and we bought him a whole bunch of VHS tapes and mailed them to his house. Now, we didn't want to actually push his boundaries about whether or not he should be watching porn, so we chose videos that were explicitly marketed to a sexual orientation other than his. And I'm just now realizing that he never actually said anything. He never mentioned receiving like a giant box full of VHS tapes in the mail. I don't know if maybe he didn't know it was us. Maybe he just thought it was a random mailing. Whatever. Seemed like a pretty obvious prank to me. But anyway, the point of this story is that I was in the sex store holding an armload of gay porn VHS tapes, and I look up. Sorry, I'm gonna keep a straight face. I look up, and I see an old friend from high school who I haven't seen since high school. And I'm like, okay, all right, be cool. There's no way, because my appearance had changed. I cut my hair off. I looked way different. I was like, there's no way he's gonna recognize me. And even if he did, right, like we know the social norms here. You're just not gonna, you pretend you don't see it. Max? Oh yeah, hey. hey, buddy, how you doing? Hey, I'd shake your hand, but I dropped my VHS tapes. Anyway, haven't been in one of these stores since then, but my interest was piqued. It's a superstore. I am imagining like a Best Buy level of retail space, like big box retail, except adult novel. But alas, I did not have time on my way down. I didn't want to get there too late, and so I figured it was not going to happen. But then on my way back up on Monday morning, I looked it up on Google Maps, and lo and behold, the Lion's Den Adult Superstore opens at 8 in the morning. Who exactly is the target audience for a sex store at 8 in the morning? Like you're sitting at Waffle House and you're finishing up your smothered covered hash browns or whatever, and you're just thinking, man, I really need to replace my prostate wrecker 5000. So I figure why the hell not, right? Like I just want to see the 4 football fields of product that this place surely has. So I pull off the interstate at about 8:15 in the morning, and I drive past the 2 or 3 gas stations on that exit, and there's this giant sign, Lion's Den, turn here, and I pull in and I see this. Really? That's a superstore? Are you kidding me? I've seen more adult novelties in Derek Tant's videos. But once again, I got into an awkward situation because as I'm sitting there looking, like I pulled into the parking lot and I'm sitting there in my car, like looking at this place, and also at 8:15 in the morning, a biker couple pulls up next to me and their skin was like leather. And I don't mean the soft, plush leather of like a nice leather sofa. I mean like still on the cow leather, and like the Harley is rumbling and their loins are vibrating and the sweat is just dripping off them. They look like they have been driving all night in the hot sun to get to the Adult Superstore. And I do this. I'm like at my steering wheel and I'm like, I made eye contact. That was the fatal mistake. After you make eye contact with someone like that, you can't just put it in reverse and drive away, or they'll think that you, and what do I care what these people think? I've never seen them before. I will never see them again after this fleeting glimpse that was definitely enough fleeting glimpse that I got of them. But it like kicks in. You're socially, okay, now we've made eye contact, and if I drive away, they're gonna think I'm disgusted by them, and I don't want them to feel bad. Fine, you know what? Fine. I'm going into the superstore. I follow the couple in to the Adult Superstore. Now, here in Asheville, our adult stores, or at least back in the day, they were staffed by young women who you were kind of concerned were being trafficked, but still young women. I think that was like a business decision on the part of the owners of the stores that you want an attractive young lady to try to hawk the wares, right? There's a certain expectation that the customer has for hospitality. So I follow the son of anarchy and his sister bride into the Adult Superstore, and the one employee at 8:15 in the morning. What do you put on your resume to get this job? That's what I want to know. But the one employee is about 75 years old, and he's very open with his sexuality, and he's wearing a pair of Daisy Dukes and a biker jacket with the sleeves cut off. And as I walked in, I noticed that he had a very prominent Trump hat. Really? Setting aside the questions of self-loathing or identity crisis that this person may be having, who put you in this job, sir? Who thought you would be the person that prospective customers want to see when they walk into this establishment at 8 in the morning? You, sir, are a boner shrinker. And he looks up at me and he's like, how you doing? I mean, in my head, my internal monologue is like, okay, Max, one lap will bring you back to the door and you can leave. And so I'm doing my lap. I'm on the outside aisle next to the forearm-sized lingerie, and I get to the back of the store, which didn't really take very long. It was a tiny store, and there is this giant archway, and over it says Adult Arcade. If the Saudis rerouted all of their petroleum exports into hand sanitizer, it would not be enough for me to go in to the adult arcade. And so like in my bewilderment, I turn around and the guy's looking at me and he's like, "Help you find anything?" Why, yes, sir. Do you have any pamphlets about how I could join the priesthood? So that's the story of the time I went to the Lion's Den Adult Superstore. It wasn't very super. It was like, it should, I guess it wouldn't have the same billboard appeal if it was like Lion's Den Adult Mediocre Store. And if you'll excuse me, the medical assistant is calling me back with the results of my test for airborne STDs. There are too damn many distractions out there. I got birds chirping, I got rain falling on a tin roof. It's like a freaking Norah Jones album out there. I gotta focus. Let's get to your questions, but first, Gribbs Ask Humanity. Does anybody know when Missouri Meerschaum says hardwood? What hardwood is it exactly? Now, I'm not asking about the bowl because I think they specify that somewhere as like maple or cherry. Is cherry a hardwood? Cherry's a fruit tree. That's not a hardwood. I don't know. I don't know anything about wood. But the point is, what about the stems? Because I noticed that the stem in my Xenon, which I have not yet smoked, is the same. Appears to be the same material. Let me change focus. The stem in the Xenon appears to be the same as the stem. Hang on. As the stem in the Legend. It's just the stem in the Legend has that kind of cheesy corncob print over it. So I don't know what's going on. By the way, have you ever seen a more handsome Missouri Meerschaum Legend? Damn. Right to your questions. Alexander Gennaro says, if you're ever barreling down a highway with a woman that's going full-blown Nazi on you, you will realize why people stop and start reversing in the road. Ask Alexander Gennaro, do you have a story you want to share with us? Burninator asked Gribbs, are you half man, half dragon by any chance? Like, just, okay. Any plans for a custom rusticated Xenon hardwood, more zazz? I will confess that I am tempted to rusticate. I would start with a regular hardwood and rusticate that. But I don't want to buy the materials that I would need to finish it. If anybody wants to trade me some pipe finishing supplies for goodwill, then you're welcome to send me some, and I would probably pursue that project. I think that'd be a fun little project. I would love to have a fleet of these. This is the only one I've ever had. Les Brady asks Gribbs, thanks for the commiserating story. Oh yeah, about the check writing thing. Any summer reading going on, or are you resigned to wait, as you said, until your child goes to college or begins his military tours or whatever career he is going to get that will put me in a nicer nursing home than I can otherwise afford? Les says he's reading The Passenger by Cormac McCarthy. Is that the new one? One of the two new ones that came out right before he died? Yeah, I'm not reading a damn thing. I'm working slowly through Springsteen's autobiography, but it's gathering dust on the night table. Blake, MDCCCXXVII, asked Gribbs, is on the scene of a fatal car accident a euphemism for some of your wedding photography gigs? No. Unfortunately. I was talking with a friend about this, about how completely fucked up it is that small town newspapers, number one, cover car wrecks. They go out and they take pictures of horrible, fatal car wrecks and they put them on the front of the paper because they know people will pick that paper up to look at those pictures. It's horrible. Real papers don't do that. If you are an 18-year-old kid out there and your editor has just handed you a camera and said, here's a camera and a scanner, listen for a terrible wreck and go take pictures of it, you should quit that job and get an entirely different career. I don't know why you're starting. If there's an 18-year-old kid watching this, don't become a journalist. But if you are a true believer, like the only people left in journalism, please don't participate in the coverage of car wrecks unless it's the president or Harry Styles or somebody dead in a car wreck. It is not news. So that was how I ended up on the scene of a lot of car wrecks, was covering them for the newspaper. And notable among those was an attempted vehicular manslaughter. I mean, would it have been murder? I don't know. If it was the guy intentionally hit the other guy's car. He got out of prison, found his lady shacked up with a new man, went and started driving around with a giant case of Budweiser, and when he saw a bright red, shiny show car of a Corvette coming the other way, he decided that was his moment to check out. There was so much red in the scene. It was so much blood. There's blood everywhere, and then the car itself was red and made of fiberglass, and so it just shattered, and there's red fiberglass. It was horrible. The other notable one happened, I don't want to get into this. The other notable one happened, though, after I had quit working for media the first time, and I happened upon a quintuple fatality caused by a tractor-trailer driver falling asleep and running into a traffic jam. And I arrived, just by happenstance, I arrived before the first responders did. And I'm still not over that. It's been 13 years. Yeah, I'm still not over it. So I wish it were a euphemism. There are times when wedding photography seems like a slow-moving, actually it's not that slow, like a wreck of some sort. I prefer to think of it, though, more of as a train wreck because the processional and then the recessional, and you know, once the bride falls over, everybody falls over behind her. It's crazy. Joseph Tamanini asked Gribbs, why so serious? I kind of just answered it. Howard asked Gribbs, are you for old time's sake, are you taking anything for your Trump derangement syndrome? It's only going to get worse. How is business in the Superstore? And Howard follows up with, why does everyone always think their sense is common sense? This is an excellent question. Why is it that we always think we have a lock on common sense? We don't take into consideration anyone else's life experience or education or training. Common sense doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's this idea that we've made up that everybody else should be at least as functional as we are, and that's just not true. I myself have become less functional in my life, and when I think about the things, I would say that I have maintained functionality. That's it. I've maintained, as I've lost it in some areas, I've gained it in others. And if you had asked mid-20s Max as opposed to mid-40s Max what to do in any situation that would involve common sense, probably would have gotten different answers. But it's important to note that even the phrase common sense does not imply universal sense. There will always be people that just have no damn sense, and those are the ones that really get to me. John Galdieri asked Gribbs, how would you describe God's country? I've given this some thought. There have been writings, I have written things in which I describe places as God's country. These are the parameters I think need to be in place. It has to be open, right? No one is ever standing in like a jungle, like a dense foliage where you can't see anything and says, man, this is God's country. You've got to have a vista. You've got to be able to see for miles and miles. Number two, there should be no one else around. We only arrive in God's country when we leave everyone else behind. And that is when we feel like we have some sort of communion with the man, right, who owns the country. And I think that maybe you could have a horse with you. You could be riding a horse. Back to Cormac McCarthy stuff, I think that you could perhaps be on a motorcycle, probably not in a car though. I guess a bike would be okay, as long as you're not wearing spandex. But it's important that you're alone and you're either on foot or using some mode of transportation that doesn't. Only 2 wheels, maximum. Could you see God's country from like a biplane? Biplanes have 3 wheels. You definitely can't have 4 wheels. And then I think it's important that there are elevation changes that you can see. No one looks at a flat cornfield and says, this is God's country. There's got to be mountains or a valley or something. It can't be just completely flat. And I think there should probably be some running water. And we have saved the best for last. Timber Drifter Scribbs. I'm going to read the whole question. So, what's up with these UAP UFO whistleblowers, agencies and military branches admitting that we may be dealing with alien craft or off-Earth origin craft? Are the aliens here, or is this a psyop or limited hangout? Are all of our lives about to be changed forever by the revelation and confirmation of the existence of advanced technology and intelligent beings from outside our galactic locale and understanding? Or is this the other kind of revelation where Jesus comes to show his servants what must soon take place? Are these things demonic? Are they Ezekiel's wheel? Is it the Chinese, the Russians, US Black Ops? What the hell is going on? This subject appears surprisingly frequently on my channel, and my best guess on the current crop of whistleblowers is that it is a psyop to distract a certain demographic from worrying about anything else, right? There's a lot going on right now. We have the war in Ukraine and Russia. We have a lot of stuff on the home front. Climate change is accelerating. The economy is shaky. There's a lot going on, and there are people out there who like to churn on stuff and think about things. And I think this is our government just kind of tossing them a bone. Here, think about this. Having said that, I listened to a podcast called the Chilluminati podcast, which is absolutely hilariously entertaining, and it's three dudes of varying levels of skepticism about this topic and other topics that get into supernatural stuff and true crime stuff as well. They're on like episode 200 or something now, and they're hilarious, and they call it Chilluminati because it's just some bros chilling and talking about conspiracies and stuff like that. So one of them is like super duper he is bought into the aliens, and he believes in the, like, not only does he believe we are being visited, he believes that like you can discern the types of aliens, the grays versus the tall whites versus the something aliens. And then there's like the middle guy, he's just kind of like, yeah, maybe. And then there's the other guy that's like, no way. There's no way. And depending on my mood and the specific episode, I find myself agreeing with one or the other. It's funny you should bring this up. I saw a UFO the other night. The most amazing thing I had seen ever in the sky. I was driving back from Folly Beach in Charleston, and there was this string of lights just hovering in the sky. And it was definitely way up there, but it wasn't way up there, you know what I mean? And it was Starlink. It was just Starlink. But a weird thing happened. For a minute there, I was like, okay, UFOs never appear to actual photographers, right? They always appear to people who get out their camera phone and film it like this. No, I got out of the car, I went to the back, I opened up the trunk, I opened up my camera case, I got out my Sony A7 III with the 85-1.8, which was my longest, fastest lens that I had available at the time, and then it was gone. The phenomenon had disappeared. So, yes, I know it was just Starlink, but it was just a little bit weird. It's like, they know. Anyway, if you listen to the guys on the Chilluminati pod, what I think, the thing that resonates most with me is that the government does know something. It knows something is up. There's too much out there to be nothing. But the revelation of this stuff would be so disruptive that they are releasing bits and pieces to sort of make it look like these are alien or advanced tech craft. But the reality is, Ezekiel's wheel is probably not far off. Read the Mothman Prophecies. The movie was cheesy and kind of stupid and had Richard Gere in it, but if you read the book, and the book is not well researched, and I think parts of it are completely false, actually. But the theory put forth is that these things have always been with us. And back in the day, we had sightings, but we didn't think of them as technological craft. But there are anomalies that we see, and that sometimes our instruments can detect, if depending on where you are in history. And even the trope of alien abduction is sort of rhymes with previous abduction tropes in history of fairies or demons or even sleep paralysis stuff, that things that appear to you incapacitate you, take you away. These are not things that are exclusive to the last 120 years or so. But yeah, I don't trust government whistleblowers. I don't know that the other thing is interesting to me is the Avi Loeb guy, who's like always writing and saying this is definitely more likely to be alien in origin. Like he found some spherical rocks in an asteroid, and he's like, this is alien tech. Why'd they leave their marbles in the asteroid? I mean, I don't. Come on, seriously. If you're gonna say something is alien tech, I want it to be at least like, you know, Texas Instruments scientific calculator level. Like, I want a calculator with different numbers on it that we've never seen before and can't compute. That is all I have for you today, but I can't think of a good way to end the video, so I will just show you Pepper. Thank you for watching. Keep the ends out for the... Ow, shit!